The trek from Ohio to Glacier National Park is a long one, and it took us, what, 3 full days of travel?
Yes, 3 full days. Full, long days.
Yes.
Because again, we did not account for pulling a trailer versus what GPS said.
By the time we finally got to Glacier, we got there on, what was it, Wednesday evening? Roughly, it was in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And parked the RV and pretty much went straight to bed. And then the next day, we went with your family and started, what, 3 days at Glacier we did?
3 or 4.
The entrance to Glacier is you go under an overpass.
Be careful how high you are, because if your rig's a certain
13 feet 6 inches. So if you're over that, don't go. Don't try to enter Glacier through that particular
may need
gateway.
to find an alternate route.
Then you go through the village, and then you got a long drive back to the actual gate. Which, I mean, it's a pretty drive. Now the first day, instead of going the Sun Road, going to the Sun Road is the full name. Going to the Sun Road. Instead of doing that, we went to Polbridge, which is it's almost like a little, not quite Western, almost like a Bohemian type town. And they've got the Mercantile with the bear claws. Which, what did you think of the bear claws?
I thought they were great. Give me any pastry, donut, I am a professional donut connoisseur.
I mean, it's a gift shop with a. They have pastries there, so the bear claw is what they're most famous for.
The huckleberry. Even if you're not a fan, it's still an experience of Glacier to try a huckleberry bear claw.
And then there's I'm guessing it's a propane tank or a water tank of some sort that everybody slaps their stickers on. If you happen to go to Polbridge Mercantile, look at the tank outside, you'll find our sticker on there. In fact, we've seen it in a couple videos since then.
Yeah.
A couple other people have gotten footage back there, and we're like, hey, there's our sticker.
It's still there.
If you're going back to Polbridge from the main gate, then there's a gravel road. It's fairly rough. I mean, we were in a rental vehicle, but it still bounced quite a bit.
Either have a high clearance 4x4 or
a Jeep of some sort.
Don't drive your own car. Have a rental.
But yeah, the drive on going to the Sun Road, which is kind of the main part of Glacier, is a gorgeous drive. There's views out of, it doesn't matter what side of the car you're on, you're going to see either some incredible rock formations or you're going to see incredible valleys. But there's a ton of pull-offs and overlooks. Please utilize them, because that is a main thoroughfare, right?
Yeah. You've got workers going from here to there, or somebody who lives in that area going to the store or whatever, so they use that to go through. But also, if you have a fear of heights, I would not recommend driving. Have somebody who does not have a fear of heights drive for you.
If you start looking out over the edge, especially while you're driving, it can get a little dicey. Which waterfall is this?
I honestly don't know. There are so many waterfalls there.
It's a giant glacier, so what you're seeing is where it's just melting off. But the water itself is just crystal clear. I mean, there's
cold, ice cold.
It was around 100 degrees while we were there, and that water was still.
It's not normally that hot though.
The water was still very ice cold.
Again, like we said in the last video, there was a major heat wave, which they never see, and of course, the one time we're there, that happens. But for example, our Airbnb house did not have air conditioning in it. There was no central air. Most homes don't have it there.
There were a couple wall units, but the main part of the house had no air conditioning. It was just
they don't
the bedroom.
need it.
Normally, it doesn't get above 70.
Yeah.
75, and it was 30 degrees hotter than it had ever been for several years. But that's the nice part about the water being so cold. It was so hot out, it was really easy for everybody to cool off, provided they had their swimwear. And of course, our kids being our kids, they didn't care if they had swimwear or not. They just wanted to get in the water. One of the nice stops along the way, especially if it's getting to be in the afternoon and it is warm out, is Lake McDonald. It's crystal clear. You can just walk right into it.
You can kayak, you can swim, get a float. also you'll see the iconic pictures of Glacier with the rocks, the really colorful, pretty rocks under the water. So pretty. That's at Lake McDonald. The most eye-opening was when you start off, you're down by the river and the rapids and stuff, and you go up and around, but when you get up there and then you look down and you see where you were at, that's the freaky part. You're like, oh, we were way down there, like, and it gives you a perspective of how high up you are.
It's also really interesting, given the temperature in general around there. There's still snow, and that's really the probably most fascinating
but I don't think
part.
it's so much snow as it is ice, because a glacier is ice.
Now, second day is when we went back to Avalanche Lake.
This is also where you'll see the sinks, which is also another very popular, iconic glacier picture. There's a smaller loop that does the sinks, and then you can keep going back to Avalanche Lake, which is a beautiful lake once you get back there. It's a good hike back there. Mile and a half or two, maybe.
I thought it was closer to 4 miles.
I don't know. I mean, it's out and back, so it's not like a loop.
So it's probably like 2 miles out and then 2 miles back.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The trail itself's kind of interesting because it looks like you're starting at an old, almost dying forest because you start so low. And part of the trail looks rustic. It looks like just your old rustic, but it follows I guess that's creek all the way down. I mean, you're going to be along a creek for the entire hike. But
no, and then you go through a mountain path.
There was an opening part way up too, where you just got an amazing view, and that's about the point that all the shrubbery started to change. Because everything just opened up. It wasn't covered in trees anymore. Alec didn't realize that you could drink the water while you're walking.
Hey, now, some people can't walk and drink.
I mean, you can't walk and chew gum. I mean, he couldn't put the nozzle in his mouth. Hello.
I never know. Is he taking a picture or is he videoing? So I never know what to do. Do I pose or do I talk?
Even our kids were surprised at how beautiful Avalanche Lake really is. One of the first things Aiden did was took his phone out and started taking his own pictures, which is rare for him.
Now, if you are a photographer, you want to time this hike, because when we got there, where the sun was,
it was just starting to come over the mountain.
There was a shadow. So this is a photographic spot where you get the reflection of the mountain, so it looks like the picture's like, what do you call that when it's like you see it top and bottom and it's like
reflective?
Yeah, but we had this weird X thing going on from where the sun was like
we got there right before the sun started to come over the mountain, and as we were standing there, it just kept coming higher and higher.
But again, and this is a highly sought after hike, so we tried that whole first day we were there to get a parking spot here, and we couldn't. So we had to get up very early. Even though we had the reservation, we had to get up super early.
Before the sun came up.
Yes, to get a spot to park there to do the hike. And even then, we were super early, and there was not a lot of parking spots left.
No, and there were a lot of people already up there. There were people painting. They had the canvas, the easels, all their paints out and everything. These are people that this is a life goal for them, is to get up there and photograph or paint this. There were a lot of chipmunks there too.
Yeah. They were petting them.
Yeah, they run right up to you.
That is, oh, the island, Goat Island. That is also the opening scene for, oh my gosh, the hotel,
Shining?
The Shining.
That's
It's
right.
also on Big Sky too, the TV show.
Even though it's supposed to take place in Montana, it's actually shot in Canada. But they use aerial footage from Glacier. Poor kid, he's so tired, couldn't make it up the hill until I said, I'll race you, and then he takes off.
McDonald Falls.
Which, that particular view wasn't the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
That was another pull-off from going to the Sun Road. I mean, it's a great view. It's really neat to see. It's just the angle, especially during the summer when all the trees are in bloom, it makes it kind of difficult. Can't tell you how many times our kids almost gave us a heart attack because they were sitting on a ledge or walking where they
They're
shouldn't.
going to be the ones when they're older. They're going to send us pictures of them standing 1 foot, balancing on a rock.
So day 3, we went to where?
Logan's Pass.
We had to make sure we had that right. We said Logan's Pass, Logan's Point, Logan's Run, Logan's Home Room, which was the one I was in.
And now I forgot. What did I just say it was?
Logan's Pass.
Okay. That's also where the Highline Trail and Hidden Lake Trail.
Hidden Lake is the one we did. And that was my favorite, I think, of Glacier because the path itself,
It was hard. It wasn't hard because of the elevation or anything.
No, the first part of it's just a deck. You just
Right.
walk on the deck.
I mean, it's uphill, but then you get to where you're literally hiking a glacier.
That's the neat part for me anyway, is you're walking this deck, you're walking this path, it's warm out, and then all of a sudden you're walking over snow and ice.
I had brought specifically for this hiking poles so that I wouldn't break anything because
And you
of the
forgot 'em.
osteoporosis. I'm not about wanting to break any bones. And then I go and hike uphill on a solid sheet of ice. Yeah, that was smart because I couldn't find my hiking sticks until the following day.
But you do have to be careful on it though, because even if as you're going up, other people are coming down. There's not a loop; it's just one up and down trail, and it does get slick. You can slide on that if you're not careful.
And there's nothing to hold on to. So if you have mobility issues, you probably want to bypass that.
Doesn't affect the animals though. As you look
Yeah.
out on the either side of the path, or as you're going up, you're going to see animals. There was elk. We saw meerkats.
Bighorn sheep.
Mountain goats walked right up to you.
Oh yeah.
You probably could have shook his hand.
Oh, what are not groundhogs, but they're kind of called. Oh, what are?
Marmots.
Yeah,
Nice marmot.
they were cute.
And they're just so used to people, they don't care. They're just going about their business.
But still, don't touch them. Stay out of their way. Leave them alone.
They're not going to bother you, so you don't bother
Yeah.
them. That's the rule. And then when you finally do get up to Hidden Lake, it is a great view. And there is a trail that will go further. When we
And
were
take you down
there,
to the lake.
when we were there, it was closed because it was bear fishing season. The bears were getting that was about the time that they're actually going in and getting their food.
Protect bears fishing for spawning trout.
You don't want to go down near a lake when a bear's trying to get food. So they just roped it off and you didn't go that way. You got up to the first part of Hidden Lake and then you turned around and went back.
But I mean, it was worth it just to see that lookout there at the top.
So long as you're careful going back down.
Yeah.
Some people found an interesting solution to that. You were sitting there trying desperately not to slide down the ice. And then we turned around, a couple people pointed, and all of a sudden there's this guy who found a solution. He's coming down the path on skis. In shorts, mind you. He's wearing shorts.
That was with a hat, a beanie. I want to grow up and be that guy.
The way the trail's laid out, you start off real easy, and then you got the hard hike through the snow going uphill, and then you get to the end. And then as you go back, you have to be really careful sliding back down the snow, which our kids took full advantage of. Sliding.
Well, and as you're coming down, if you look off to your right as you're coming down, you're like, man, if you start sliding, you can't stop. That goes like you would catapult. Like,
It's easy and then hard and then you hit the end and then it's hard and then it ends real easy again because you're back on the wooden deck.
but the views are worth it.
And right across the street from that, there was another small path.
No, that's not a small path. That's the Highland Trail. That's the one as you're driving on the Sun Road. You see the chains along the wall, like the mountain there, the rock, where you can hold on, and it's like a 9-mile hike, and it goes
Where
far.
did we go to see where we saw the family of goats?
That we started.
Was that it?
We started the Highline Trail. We didn't go very far though, because once we got to the goats, some park rangers kind of said, because there was 2 moms and 2 babies, and
they kind of shoot us along.
Yeah,
they said, why don't you go ahead and head off this trail. Plus it was starting to drizzle a little bit at that
and
point.
we knew we weren't doing the trail itself. The path on this one was the St. Mary's Falls.
And that path had a bunch of dead, well, not dead. There had been I'm guessing a controlled burn. A lot of the trees were burned through there, so that was
there's
different.
been fires there too. So that is the island, Goat Island. That is also the opening scene for the hotel,
Shining?
The Shining.
And you can actually go out on the lake there.
Yeah,
They've got a boat that'll take you out. Now, if you're going past the Weeping Wall, you have to roll down the windows, even if the person sitting next to you is screaming at you not to.
No, I don't want everybody.
It's just fun to get them wet.
Mini Glacier's probably I like Mini Glacier way more than West Glacier. I think it's more remote. That's where they have the beautiful, huge lodge. You can, if you take the boat ride to get to Grinnell Lake or Grinnell Glacier, either one. But you actually take 2 different boat rides. You take one through the first lake, and then you stop, you get off the boat, you walk across to the next lake, and then board that boat. And then they take you to a drop-off point, and you can either go to hike up to Grinnell Glacier, which I really wanted to do it, but it was closed to a certain point. Or you can take the hike back to Grinnell Lake. I've heard the hike to go there and skip the boats is not bad. A lot of people do it.
You can make the hike. I think it's what 4 miles is what they said?
Something
roughly?
like, yeah.
It's
yeah.
4 or 6 miles, something like that. You don't have to take the boat. The boat just makes it a lot quicker.
We wanted to take a boat ride though, so.
Well, we wanted to, but at the same time, that was the one day that it actually was kind of frigid out. I mean, we got up there and
You gotta buy a coat.
I still have that. That's the coat I keep in the camper as a backup because it was chilly. I would say maybe at most 50 degrees. It was pretty cold out, especially
But
getting on the boat and then going on the lake.
That was one spot where we wished we saw people with these awesome hats. It was like a bucket hat, but then it had this netting around it, and we're like,
Oh, the mosquitoes are terrible
yes.
there.
And the second you stop, they're swarming and smacking you. As long as you keep moving, they're not. But if you stop, they're attacking you.
You're almost walking through a fog of
Yeah.
mosquitoes and gnats. I have never seen that many at one point.
They bite.
I don't know if it's because it's just you're in a lake and then you're going back into a wetland area, but it was terrible.
Well, and they had a boardwalk going over top of this, almost kind of like wetland area.
Yeah, it's like a marsh
yeah.
area.
But then along that trail, you can take off one little. Inspiration Falls was back there, and that was really pretty too.
And then afterwards, I think we took the long way back. We had already done going to the Sun Road, I think, two or 3 times by that point. It's just after the 3rd day, I'm like, this is. I get it. Can we take something else? Which we did.
But we also have learned you don't want to always take the same route. You want to see other stuff. And because when we left Mini Glacier, we came, instead of going back through the park, we went around. We stopped at Twin Medicine Lake, and there was a really cool waterfall there. It was like almost looked like a tongue coming out of a mouth, like where the water would, I'll have to look up the name of it, but the water like kind of shoots out, and it was really neat looking. And then, but again, the drive going along the outer side of Glacier was beautiful. You're seeing a different side of it.
And because we took that extra trip, instead of going back down, going to the Sun Road,
Oh, we got to see a cattle drive.
it stopped the traffic going through there. So that it was, gosh, I think we saw maybe 50 cows going across the street.
With a border collie.
The border collie was calling all the shots. There was a rancher on a horse, but it was the border collie that was doing all the work. And from a distance,
It looked like Elwood. I personally like trying to take multiple routes and see all the views, all the angles.
well, that's one of the reasons now that we try to make an effort to not just go out and back. Anytime we do a trip, we try to make some sort of loop out of it. What was your favorite part about Glacier?
Just the views. Seeing the mountains. Give me a mountain, put me on a mountain, and I'm happy.
On a national park scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Glacier?
10. Definitely a 10.
Oh, you'd rate that high.
Yeah, I've got a handful of 10s. And then they kind of, so yeah.
Would you go back?
Yes, of course.
So after that last day, we just hooked up the trailer and headed out.
Yeah.
Started our way down from Glacier to Yellowstone, and that became the next leg of our trip. I'm gonna cut that out, don't worry.
What?
Nothing. Are they trying to be as loud as they possibly can in there? I just said something very stupid.
Don't break the door. What was he doing?
They were arm wrestling. No, what I just said, it was stupid.
Oh, okay.
You kind of knew where that was going, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. It's gonna get you!
Oh, God, don't.
Who just texted me? Thank you, yada, yada, yada. That's your camera.
Oh,
You keep
okay,
looking over
sorry.
here. So on the third day, we went on Logan's Run.
Oh, God! Oh.
There's your outtakes for you.